The Top Knot Creative Show, the Top Knot Creative Show. Seeking super smart, super talented superheroes. How to be wow over the world and all around. The Top Knot Creative Show, the Top Knot Creative Show.
Well, welcome to the show, Mary. And Mary Levenhagen. Is that how you say your last name?
Levenhagen.
Levenhagen. I don't think I've ever actually had to say your last name out loud.
No.
I love that. So you are one of the owners and operations manager, but don't you have another job title around there?
Oh, I hold lots of job titles here. My biggest one's probably CFO, Chief Financial Officer. I'm the in one hand and out the other hand lady. And then I also do a lot. I do human resources. I do marketing. I do lots here.
So you're the chief. You're the big chief.
I'm the head honcho. I'm the shop boss.
I think that's what I was going for.
Yep.
Well, so TNT Customs, you are committed to pioneering original and innovative designs for all off-road enthusiasts, and you believe form and function must work together to give your customers value, excellence, superiority in their purchases and builds. And you manufacture all your products in your 10,000 square foot facility located in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I know that you have huge following and you have a really fun competitive industry that you work in every single day. So tell us more about that, your area of expertise within the off-road building shops out there.
Well, my husband and I have been together. We've been married 25 years, and in that 25 years we have been off-roading all over. It's been mostly out west in the western part of the United States, but so our experiences are built on being right out on the trail, seeing what the vehicles need and how they should work. But we also came from a military background, so funds weren't readily available, so you have to make sure your vehicle can drive on the road as well as off the road, so that it can be reliable and it can get you back and forth to work every day. So that's what we try to strive for when we build our products for the Jeeps, is that it works all together so you don't have to spend your money 3 times over to get you the bottom line of what you really want.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I bet your customers really appreciate that they can spend a lot more time driving this beautiful vehicle around.
Yeah.
Not just on the weekends.
Right. It's way fun to take them off-road, but it's even more fun to drive right around town and have people look at you and wave at you and go, that looks cool.
And I've seen a lot of your builds, and they are quite beautiful to look at. So I'm sure the viewing audience appreciates that too.
It appeals to that testosterone in the guys that I like to have other guys notice.
Yes, that's true. But I have seen some women that are just they're as into it as any man.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you told us a little bit about the longevity you've had, but tell us how you got started in the industry. Bob's experience, maybe.
Okay. Well, what happened is while he was still active duty in the military, we always had somebody else's rig in our garage at home. He started making his own little parts for his vehicle, and people were noticing, hey, well, can you make that for mine? Can you make that for mine? And so we started I ended up never being able to park in the garage. Somebody else's vehicle was always in our garage. So when the time came that he hit his 20 years with the military and he was going to be done, he decided, well, maybe I can just do this and turn this into a job. So that was his thought. One man, I'm going to open a little shop. Well, and next thing, one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden you need to have more help helping you. You need more tools. You need more stuff, and we just have grown from one person to a whole manufacturing facility because the need and the desire is there for people to have these things that he's making. that's how we got going. All of a sudden, I'm able to quit doing my business and join him and be here. I've been full-time now for 3 years, too, helping run the day-to-day stuff so that he's more freed up to do the prototyping and product design. That's the story.
Yeah, I love that. Tell us more about Bob, and people are really drawn to him. So tell us about that.
You know what I think? When people meet Bob outside of the Jeeping world, they think, did I do something wrong? He didn't say anything. Because he's not very talkative. But when you mention a Jeep or some component of it, I think they're totally amazed how much he knows on every Jeep, not just the new Jeeps or not just the old Jeeps, but on all of them. He can tear them apart completely down to nothing and put them back together because he just gets it. He gets the geometry of them. He gets the mechanics of them. He gets them from top to bottom. And I think people are pretty impressed when they ask him a question, and he always has the answer. So it amazes me what he remembers about all the Jeeps. I can't keep half of it straight.
I love that. Yeah, I know that, he definitely, people are drawn to him. They probably feel like he'll take care of them. He'll know what goes with what. And
right.
That's one of the things that you would need within that industry.
He's a stickler for the little details. I always say anybody can make a cake and frost it, but can you make a cake and frost it and it looks really good and it tastes really good and everything is perfect? That's what he does with the Jeeps. Doesn't just throw something on there and say, there you go. Well, if you throw this on there, you know what it does to this, right? And you know what it does to that, right? And he makes them look at the whole picture. And I think that's the biggest plus for him. He doesn't just look at one little part.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, speaking of details, let's talk about those. The types of services you offer. I know you have a lot of products.
Yeah.
So maybe go into, the top 2 or 3 and then the different services.
I'm gonna tell you what we started with, because I know we have those perfected. The XJ, the older Jeep Cherokee, I think they were started in 1988 through 2001. They're a great, great seller that Jeep had. There's thousands and thousands of them out there. Well, we started off with those because a lot of people weren't making any parts for them. And you can pick them up now. You can get an XJ for $1,000 in really great shape. So people buy them, and then they don't mind spending the extra money to make them off-road worthy. And they're still big enough to put your kids in and go off-roading. They're a great family Jeep, but they're also a great size for getting off-road. So he started with the suspension for the Cherokees. And there's so many forums and everything out there that'll tell you that our XJ suspension is like the best one out there. You can drive that Jeep at 80 miles an hour on the highway, and you can still go out and flex it off-road. Unbelievable places you can drive those. That's what started us off. That was the first products we did, and we started manufacturing. Now we manufacture all the way through the brand new JKs. So from older Jeeps to new Jeeps, we make parts for all of them. And the last, since 2007, Jeep's been building the JK Wrangler. And they're getting now where more and more people are, okay, mine's a little bit older now, I can spend a little money on it. And so they're putting on the bumpers, the suspensions, the body armor, the things like that to take them off-road and play with them a little bit more. And so we manufacture parts for those too. And there's so many. We make thousands of things now versus what we started off with. I never ever would have dreamed we'd be making all these things that we're making. So, product specific, I would say in the last few months, the XJ stuff has been our biggest seller, and I partially chalk that up to great magazine articles that have been written by JP Magazine. And I also chalk it up to, like I said, people can buy those a little bit cheaper, then they can afford to put some product into them, and they still have the overall great Jeep. Our TJs, our fenders and corners are our number one sellers for our TJs. We build a full replacement front fender, and nobody else is building that. They're building parts of front fenders where you cut up your existing one and you weld stuff on, or they send you a bunch of parts and you have to put them all together. Ours comes totally 100% assembled. All you do is bolt them on. And so those are one of our biggest sellers for the TJs.
Awesome.
And that's what makes them different, is that nobody else makes them fully assembled. So,
Are those also the things that you powder coat so they look really pretty too?
we don't usually powder coat our fenders, but we do powder coat our bumpers, all our suspension components, some of our sliders. The fenders, a lot of people like to paint them to match their Jeep, so we don't powder coat them. We will once in a while in-house, like here in Cheyenne, if somebody comes up and they just say, well, just powder coat mine, I'll put them on black, then we'll do them. But usually for shipping those, we do not powder coat those, because most people want to paint them to match their Jeep. And shipping those powder coated would be hard, because UPS is really hard on some things. So I don't know if they would survive.
You'd have to repowder coat, but we should tell the audience that you're the expert powder coater on staff.
I have done lots of powder coating personally. When we expanded about 2.5 years ago to add the powder coating, we purchased a local powder coating company. We bought them out, and then we moved all the equipment over to our facility. So I went, before we shut things down over there, I went over and got the training with the people that did it there, and I've been down to Denver and done the training, and so I'm basically the one that teaches all my guys how to do it and what they should do. And so you have to pay attention to details. Some people are good at it, and some people you're just like, okay, you're not going to work. But you do get dirty. I've been covered with powder many times in my life.
I love that. I love the attention to detail. Well, okay, so moving to the next question. If I am fully immersed in my off-roading weekends, which a lot of your people are that come to you, or a complete novice, what are some good tips, maybe 2 to 3 tips that you would have for someone looking to understand more about what you do and provide?
One of my biggest tips I would do is many times a new person gets a Jeep and they see all these cool Jeeps out there and they want their Jeep to look like that. So they'll just go and buy, I have $50, so I can buy this. And then I have another $100, I can buy this. And eventually I can just put all this together. And it wasn't all bought to work together. Where I'm going with this is, it's better for you to save up and wait and do it right the first time than to try to throw a little bit here and a little bit there at it. Because we have seen so many people that have come to us after they've already spent a lot of money on their Jeep and say, it's not driving right, or it doesn't do this and doesn't do that. It's because you shouldn't have done it like this. You should have done it right the first time. And I know that it might have been more expensive, but in the long run, it's cheaper. We've had so many people say to us, if I would have just done this the first time, I wouldn't have spent all this money doing it the other way. So I guess my point is really, really do your homework, and even though you think, I can't afford that, you can't afford not to do it the right way. That's what I'm going at. You're just better off to wait until you can do it all right the first time. You'll be so much happier. It'll ride so much better. And everything, your wife will be much happier that you don't need to spend more money. It happens so much, you know.
Yeah, and it goes back to working with someone who's the expert, like Bob, like you guys there at TNT, that can kind of look at it from the broad perspective and not...
Even my own nephew, who knows we've been doing Jeeps for a bazillion years. He's young, he's 19, he just bought his Cherokee, he's all excited. He calls me, he lives in Wisconsin, and he says, "Oh, Aunt Mary, I can buy this bracket for $50, and I could buy this, and I could buy these tires on eBay for this." And I said, "Alex, if you put this bracket on, you change the angle of your arms, you change your brake line, you change your drive shaft. It's going to ride horrible if you do this." I said, "Don't do that. Don't buy the $50 bracket." "Well, I want it higher." "Then you need to wait until you can afford to buy the right package." I said, "You're not going to be safe on the road with just changing that one little thing so you can look higher and look cooler. No, don't do it." He's like, "Well, I didn't think about the drive shaft, and I didn't think about the brake lines, and I didn't think about the angle of the arms." I said, "That's why you're not supposed to do anything without calling."
That's true, though. I mean, the safety elements alone in the sport.
Yes. You know, they all see these really cool, big, lifted Jeeps, but if you don't understand how it all works together, you're putting things on there that aren't safe. If as soon as you hit 50 miles an hour, you get a horrible death wobble. Well, why is it doing it? Well, your geometry is all wrong in your drive line and in your axles and in your suspension components. If you can't just change one little thing, you have to do it all. And that's why it's a little more expensive, but that's safer. So, like I said, we've seen it many times. So I got a problem. Well, you shouldn't have done that.
Let's start over. Okay. Awesome. Any more tips that off the top of your head? That's a really good one. It kind of covers everything. Like, just wait until you can do it right.
Right.
Period.
Do it right.
Love that.
And you know, I guess as the business, that's probably not the smartest thing for me to do, because then you won't come back. It's done right, but it is the smartest thing to do, because what happens is you get one Jeep, you end up getting an addiction for them. And sooner or later, you're going to buy another Jeep. And then when you know that you got it right the first time when you came here, you're going to come back. And you're going to tell your buddies. And so that's just how it goes. So, like I said, the best advice is just wait till you can get it right in the first place.
So true. And I've noticed, you have quite a big following on Facebook and in the forums. People just, they love your stuff, and it's a very supportive crowd. So it's probably exactly how you have to do business, run your business. I feel like that mutually beneficial relationship is always in place. And people certainly feel it from you and the shop and Bob.
Yeah.
We
really strive for customer satisfaction. I'm adamant about that. And if you're not happy about something, well, let me know, and let's fix it. Let's figure out why, because I try not to put anything out that doesn't make you happy, And so I think that's a big thing for us. It's a reputation. Bob and I are both kind of perfectionists, and it shows in how we try to run the business and make our parts and that kind of stuff.
It definitely shows. People, they were singing your praises, and it was a fun experience to just go through each comment one after another and see that. So if someone was looking to hire an expert, hire you, what should they know? What should they look for? How should they go about, if they weren't coming to you, I guess, if they were going in their, somewhere in their backyard, how would they go about selecting the right person to get what they want? I
guess I would say, see how their own vehicles perform. I mean, if you were going to a shop and you were wanting them to be Jeep people, help you out, I would hope you would see them out on the trails on their own vehicles and see how they perform. That's a huge way to tell whether or not they can work, they can do anything. Does their own vehicle show that they can do something? Also, obviously, the Jeep community is pretty big about communicating amongst themselves. So check with your buddies, check with the forums, check with, the other people that have Jeeps, because they'll tell you yay or nay as to whether or not somebody would be good for you to work on their stuff. There's magazines. Of course, I know some of them can be biased. You get on a forum or you get in a magazine. There's paid advertisers, so obviously some things could be a little biased. But I would hope that you have buddies you can trust or whatever, and they know good things or bad things about shops. So that's probably a really good way to find someone. That's about. I don't know how else you would find a good shop. When we've gone across the country looking to have people sell our stuff, to be dealers for us, we do an internet search and we Google and we try to find shops that are out there. But we also tend to lean, somebody usually recommends a shop to us, and then we go and check them out. Because we don't want just any Joe Schmo with a garage saying that he's going to put our stuff on. We want somebody who actually has some brains and can figure it out, because you can make our products look horrible if you install them wrong. You can make a Jeep drive awful if you don't have a clue how to put a suspension on. And so we try to go with shops that have been around for a while, usually have a little bit of presence in the community. I can think of quite a few that we have back east and down south and stuff. So I guess for us it's been more so we've done a little search, we've done a little research on the internet, and then we've talked to some people, and that's how we've gotten names. So.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And when you were saying check out how their rigs run, that made me think of all the events that happen within this industry. And, I know that you go to a lot of them, and I'm thinking specifically you host one?
Yes, we host a few.
Rocktoberfest, is that what I'm thinking?
Rocktoberfest,
yeah.
That's become our newest big one. Last year we did it up in South Dakota, and this year we're going to host it down in Grand Junction, Colorado. And it's mainly a fundraiser for Blue Ribbon Coalition, but it's also a way for us to, usually I put out an invite first to past customers. They get first dibs. It's limited to 50 rigs. So then I put it out on the internet, open to anybody. And like I said, it's a fundraiser for Blue Ribbon Coalition, because they do a lot to fight to keep our trails open and to keep that's their main goal, is to keep public lands public so that all people can use them, not just Jeepers, but ATVers and boaters and everything. There's so much that the government's been trying to shut down and not let us use. So Blue Ribbon's main goal is to fight to keep those trails open, and then educate people on how they should use those lands so that they don't get taken away. Be respectful. And so we do a fundraiser for them, and last year was a sold out event, and I'm sure as soon as I put a registration up, this year's going to sell out too. We also are sponsoring in September the Great American Jeep Rally in Connecticut. And so we're the title sponsor of that event. I don't personally have to organize it and do everything. We got people back there that are organizing it, but we are the title sponsor for that event. And last year there were over 700 Jeeps at that event. And it's mainly there's all kinds of vendors get together and have booths. They have an area where you can play with your Jeep. Back east, they're not blessed with all the wide open spaces that we are out west, where we can go wheeling all the time. They only have a few certain things they can take their Jeep off-roading. And so then they look forward to events like this where they can go play and hang out with other Jeepers, because they just are so limited out there. They've closed up so many of their lands and stuff back east. So events like that are big there to get Jeepers together. So that's another one we sponsor. And Jeep Camp in South Dakota, we're the title sponsor for that too. That's in June up in the Black Hills. And we work with the Black Hills Jeep Club, and usually that's limited also to 50 to 70 rigs is all that can go on that. And the Black Hills Jeep Club leads the trails, and they put on a great dinner on Saturday night, and they have a raffle, and it's just a great get-together to do some wheeling.
Wow, that sounds like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
You got a rowdy bunch there.
Yeah, there's some awesome wheeling in South Dakota. Awesome backroading. You can go from very mild, just a little country drive, or you can go totally extreme. You need a buggy to get in through this. So, it's kind of crazy up there.
I've seen some of those videos on your YouTube channel, so...
Yeah. And speaking of video, I'm going to send you the link to the newest commercial that Crawl Zone guys did for us. I've burned them to see. What Nate did was put a whole bunch of things together, and I burned it to a few CDs, and we're going to be playing it in our booth in Moab on our TV over and over. But I'm thinking during the week of Moab, somehow I want to release that, whether to YouTube or whatever. I want to be able to get that out. But I was kind of saving it for the Moab thing. So,
oh, yeah.
And so I'll send you a link to that if you can help me get that up on YouTube or whatever, with all the tagging and stuff that needs to get done.
Yes, definitely. That would be, I think that's a perfect way to go about that. Featuring you, recorded by, someone else. So, yeah, definitely like that. Well, is there anything else that you want to add or would like to say specifically that we haven't covered about TNT? I mean, we kind of hit everything really nicely.
I guess I would say one final thing is that the whole reason we do this is because we're passionate about Jeeps. We love to be outside. We love to go off-roading. We love to meet other people who have Jeeps and talk to them about what they've done to their Jeeps, and that's what I think Bob thrives on. Running a business, everybody who runs a business knows you have your headaches and you have your moments, and you're like, oh, why am I doing this? And then we get to go to Moab and go wheeling for 3 days, or we get to go. I mean, we've been all over the country with our Jeeps, and that's been the biggest reward. And you have a common bond with all the other people that do the same thing and love the same thing you do, and that's why we do all these headache things during the rest of the year. It's so we can go and do that stuff on occasion. So.
Well, I think that's perfect, and I definitely praise you guys for the expertise, the detail, the way, I've witnessed the way that you take care of your people and you give them information, even if you don't know if it's gonna result in a sale, and the support that you get back. It's really impressive. Let me share real quickly the contact details if people listening want to get a hold of you. All the details are on your website at www.tntcustoms.com, and your telephone number 307-775-9565, or you can email sales@tntcustoms.com. And then of course you find you on Facebook and YouTube, and you have really great videos going on YouTube. A lot of fun from those events that we talked about. And then Facebook, you post all sorts of really cool photos and kind of as things are developing there in the shop. So that's where you can be found, tntcustoms.com. And thank you, Mary, for taking the time to talk with us today. And I'm sure that we'll get Bob on the next round.
Okay, that sounds great.